So I'm joined, as you can see, by Watford's record goal scorer, Luther Blissett. Luther, you've had some big FA Cup games and some tough ones as well against lower league opposition. I mean, that was a difficult second half, wasn't it?
It was a difficult one, and before I start, we should not forget as Watford Football Club that we started where they are. We were the club, small club, coming to the big first division clubs and playing with no fear and having a go and coming back away with results. So let's not be too surprised or too disappointed with the result, because that's what the FA Cup does, and it brings results like this around if you lose concentration.
Like I said, people have talked about after Man United skipped a year, the FA Cup lost its magic, but still, particularly for clubs like Tranmere, this is a massive day, isn't it?
I think any club, I think the Premier League clubs are probably the ones that really start to take it seriously sort of fifth round onwards. But for everybody else, the FA Cup is a massive opportunity to play in stadiums like this. And now we can actually say this about this stadium the way it is. And I think it's just a very, very special day to turn up for an FA Cup tie. They never gave up. They never stopped believing. Their supporters, I thought, was absolutely fantastic. And, they just kept their team going, and they got their rewards by, as I said, maybe our concentration went here and there. One or two little mistakes, and that will always happen in football games, and today it fell on the right side for them.
You've had some spicy games against Tranmere as well. We're thinking back to 1999 here, wasn't it?
Unbelievable. We had two players sent off. Alan Smart was the second one to go, and you thought to yourself, what is going on? But that actually kick-started that run to get to the playoff, and ultimately, we got to the Premier League at the end of it. So these things happen, and you just have to see your way through it, and things always happen for a reason, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we just think about your FA Cup history as a player, I'm trying to think how many appearances you made as a player here for Watford, obviously other clubs as well. Have you got a particularly special FA Cup memory?
I think there are a number of them, because we were, at the time when we were playing, we actually did very well in the Cups. We would quite regularly get to sort of that fourth, fifth, and occasionally get to that sixth round. So we used to win a few games in that. So there are a number of games. We beat Sheffield United here, I think 5 once, and I scored 4 of them, and Les Taylor got the other one. And games like that come to mind. We beat Manchester United here 1-0, and it was Jan Lohmann that scored the goal at that end. We beat them 1-0. So we've had some tremendous games. Harlow is one that you never forget, because, and I do talk about that one a lot, because they just would not lie down. It was one of them. We took the lead, they came back and took the lead, we got back into it, took the lead, and it was like that, and we finally won it. We've won it 4-3, and seriously, if it had gone another 10 minutes, they probably would have equalised and beat us. It was one of those mad FA Cup ties. So
Well, you look at the team's obviously got a replay now in probably a couple of weeks' time, 10 days or so, but it'll be over that night either way, whereas you think back to the game against Walsall, however many replays we had for that one.
It was 2 replays, wasn't it? The first game was at their place, we drew. We came back here and drew. I think we drew 2-2 or 3-3 here in an evening game. They scored quite late to make it, to equalise the score. And we won it 1-0 away with not the greatest of performance, but we did enough to win the game. So that's the FA Cup though, and that is why you can never take your eye off what this game is all about. And I thought today, once we got to 3, thought just see how it goes the second half, and then you can see if we're going to see it out. And it just became one of those games you could almost see the 3-3 coming. Yeah.
I think probably the special memory for me as a very young fan was Arsenal away, Highbury, that game. The big one when there was the penalty appeal, and then you went down the other end and scored.
Yes, that's right. And to this day, I speak to some of the Arsenal supporters, and even Tony Adams and that, and they remember it, and they go, still can't believe that you boys kept beating us time and time again. Oh yeah, you never get over things like that. And we never make sure, we make sure they never forget it.
And if we think sort of current day now, obviously Nigel Pearson's been in charge for a good few weeks now. Had a great run over Christmas.
It's been one of those, hasn't we've had our Christmas present, haven't we, in more ways than one, the way things have gone. And the job he's come in now, which has brought, I think, the players together. I think he's given them good direction. He's given them a real purpose to the way they're playing and the way he's organised the team. And you can, all you can do is hope that continues, and the results will come more and more, and we'll get ourselves in that great position. The only downside, if there is one to that, we won last week, and so did everybody else around us. So we've just got to make sure that we do our job and keep winning, and hopefully that they will fall by the wayside as we go along.
Well, massive game then, of course, next weekend against your former team, Bournemouth, who've been really plummeting, having a tough time.
Yeah, they've had a rough time, a lot of injuries and whatever, and sometimes it can be a good time to play teams, but sometimes it may not, because players find that little bit more, and they know how desperate the situation they're in, as well as it was for ourselves. So it will be a tough game regardless in every way, and to come away with the points performance would be tremendous for us, because it would just keep that run going.
Do you see bits of GT in Nigel Pearson? I can sort of imagine him shouting about not getting cramp in this club, just like GT did.
I think the thing about comparisons with Graham is probably a little bit premature, and it's not something we should be doing, because they're different people in their own right. They have a way of working which is maybe a little bit individual to themselves, and I think Nigel wouldn't want to be cast as a Graham Taylor, something following along the line of Graham Taylor, because he has his own strength and things that he's very good at, and what he's achieved here, I don't think we should be comparing it with anybody else, because so far what he's done has been first rate, and you can't fault anything that he's done. And it's been a fantastic appointment, because he's come in and he's got players that have not been performing at that level they've showed us previous, and he's got them back to that level. He's got them organised, he's got them playing as a team. They don't look as if we're going to concede lots of goals, and actually in the last barring today, when we've gone behind, we've actually, when I say gone behind, gone down a man down, we've actually looked very strong in those games. The players have come more together, and they found the extra man within themselves to make sure they got the thing across the line. So full credit to all of them, and the coaching staff, which Craig Shakespeare, who actually I played with him at West Brom.
Did he?
I played with him at West Brom. So if he's in there, you tell him. Tell him. I think they've done a great job so far.
Well, that's it. You can see that togetherness he's got, and the way he handles tricky situations, like bringing Nathaniel Chalobah off when there was that sending off, and then really getting behind him.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when you're the player that's been sacrificed, you hate it, but you understand that it's for the benefit of the team, and the fact that he has already got that rapport with the players, I think that can only be a good thing moving forward, because there will be tough times ahead when even probably tougher decisions than that will have to be made, and the players will have to, using that old analogy, have to suck it up and get on with it, because that's what you're there for. Your first job as a player is to go and do everything you possibly can, what the coaching staff have asked of you to do. And at the moment, the players look as if they're more than buying into that, and they're really getting on with it.
And he's got Troy scoring. You still get a little bit worried if he keeps going a few years? He's after your record?
I've got nothing to worry about. I have nothing whatsoever to worry about. The thing is, through my career, that you've always been chasing people to see what they do, and I've looked at the players. I had the likes of Kenny Dalglish, and I had Ian Rush, and I had Gary Lineker, and players like that. When it come to the end of the season, you'd see where you ranked in there with the goals you scored. So, you go and put your performances in, and it's your performances actually that get you the results for a striker, which your goals and a win for your team. So as long as you put your performances in, the results, the goals take care of themselves. And if Troy continues doing what he's doing, because I'm sure he doesn't lay awake at night thinking, I've got to get one more, two more, whatever, to catch Luther, because he's more focused on his performances and making sure that him being the captain of this team, that he leads by example by his performances every week, because that is what ultimately will get you the goals. And if he does beat the record, brilliant, because records are there to be broken, and that's why they're there. So great if he does it, but he might break the league one. He's got 186, might be a bit stretched for him.
Yeah. Concentrate on the league one. Well, good man. Thanks for joining us, Luther.
It's always a pleasure.
Cheers.
Always an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Hello. Click here to subscribe.